Are you curious about the science behind opioid addiction? Let's break it down. Opioid addiction, also known as opioid use disorder, OUD, is a complex condition that affects millions of people worldwide. It's not just a matter of willpower or moral failing, it's a chronic disease that alters the brain in profound ways. Understanding the science behind it can help us develop better treatments and reduce the stigma associated with addiction. Opioid use disorder, or OUD, rewires the brain in profound ways. When someone uses opioids, the drugs bind to specific receptors in the brain, triggering a cascade of chemical reactions. These reactions produce feelings of euphoria and pain relief, which can be incredibly reinforcing. Over time, the brain starts to rely on these external substances to function normally, leading to physical and psychological dependence. It starts in the striatal and corticolimbic regions, key areas for reward, stress, and cognitive control. The striatum is involved in the brain's reward system, releasing dopamine when we experience something pleasurable. The corticolimbic system, which includes the prefrontal cortex and limbic structures like the amygdala, is crucial for regulating emotions and stress responses. When opioids hijack these systems, they create powerful associations between drug use and pleasure, making it difficult to quit. Genetics plays a role too. While environmental factors like stress and exposure to drugs are important, genetic predispositions can make some individuals more susceptible to addiction. Researchers have identified several genes that may influence the risk of developing OUD. Variants of genes like DRD2, OPRD1, these genes are involved in the brain's reward pathways and opioid receptor systems. For example, the DRD2 gene encodes the dopamine D2 receptor, which plays a key role in the brain's reward system. Variations in this gene can affect how individuals respond to drugs and their likelihood of developing addiction, and OPRM1 can increase susceptibility to OUD. The OPRM1 gene encodes the mu-opioid receptor, the primary target for most opioids. Variations in this gene can influence how strongly opioids bind to their receptors and how individuals experience pain and pleasure. Understanding these genetic factors can help us identify those at higher risk and develop personalized treatment strategies. When it comes to structural changes, gray matter in the brain takes a hit. Gray matter consists of neuronal cell bodies and is involved in muscle control, sensory perception, memory, emotions, and decision-making. Chronic opioid use can lead to significant changes in gray matter volume and density, affecting various brain functions. Exposure to opioids can decrease volume in areas like the right amygdala, while increasing it in others like the hypothalamus and frontal gyrus. The amygdala is involved in processing emotions and stress, while the hypothalamus regulates vital functions like hunger, thirst, and body temperature. Changes in these areas can contribute to the emotional and physiological dysregulation seen in addiction. White matter isn't spared either, with integrity losses seen in the corpus callosum and internal capsule. White matter consists of myelinated nerve fibers that facilitate communication between different brain regions. Damage to white matter can impair cognitive functions, decision-making, and emotional regulation, making it harder for individuals to control their drug use. Chronic opioid use disrupts your body's natural opioid system, altering mu. The mu-opioid receptor is the primary target for most opioids and is responsible for their pain-relieving and euphoric effects. Chronic use can lead to changes in the number and sensitivity of these receptors, contributing to tolerance and dependence. Delta and kappa receptors. Delta and kappa receptors also play roles in pain modulation and emotional regulation. Alterations in these receptors can affect how individuals experience pain and stress, further complicating the addiction process. Stress-responsive systems also go haywire, affecting vasopressin and the hypothalamic pituitary adrenal axis. The hypothalamic pituitary adrenal (HPA) axis is a major part of the body's stress response system. Chronic opioid use can dysregulate this system, leading to abnormal stress hormone levels and increased vulnerability to stress and anxiety. Physiologically, opioids can depress respiration, sometimes causing brain hypoxia. Opioids act on the brainstem, which controls breathing, leading to slowed or stopped breathing in high doses. This can result in reduced oxygen supply to the brain, causing hypoxia and potentially leading to brain damage or death. At lower doses, they might even boost brain oxygen levels. Some studies suggest that low doses of opioids can increase blood flow and oxygen delivery to certain brain regions, although the long-term effects of this are not well understood. Temperature regulation goes out of whack too, with opioids causing dose-dependent changes. Opioids can affect the hypothalamus, which regulates body temperature, leading to fluctuations in body temperature depending on the dose and duration of use. Neuroplasticity and tolerance are big issues. Neuroplasticity refers to the brain's ability to adapt and reorganize itself in response to changes in the environment, including drug use. Chronic opioid use can lead to significant changes in neural circuits, contributing to tolerance, dependence, and addiction. Chronic use leads to receptor downregulation, possibly involving the ubiquitin proteasome system. Receptor downregulation is a process where the number of receptors on the cell surface decreases in response to chronic stimulation. This can involve the ubiquitin proteasome system, which tags and degrades proteins, including receptors, leading to reduced sensitivity to opioids and the need for higher doses to achieve the same effects. Many of these brain changes persist long after stopping use. Even after individuals stop using opioids, the brain may not fully return to its pre-addiction state. Long-term changes in brain structure and function can contribute to persistent cravings, emotional dysregulation, and increased risk of relapse. Understanding these mechanisms can guide personalized treatment approaches and highlight the long-term impacts of opioid use. Personalized treatment approaches take into account an individual's genetic, environmental, and psychological factors to develop tailored interventions. This can improve treatment outcomes and help individuals achieve long-term recovery. More research is essential to develop effective interventions and mitigate risks. Stay informed, stay safe. Ongoing research is crucial for understanding the complex mechanisms of opioid addiction and developing new treatments. By staying informed and supporting research efforts, we can work towards reducing the impact of opioid addiction on individuals and society.